Good evening. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Gospel According to the Pussy Pastor. Tonight's title is Fire and Desire, Letting Your Spirit Run Wild. I'm going to read Song of Songs, chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. Upon my bed at night, I sought him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. I called him, but he gave no answer. I will rise now and go about the city, in the streets and in the squares. I will seek him whom my soul loves. I sought him, but found him not. The sentinels found me as they went about the city. Have you seen him whom my soul loves? Scarcely had I passed them when I found him, whom my soul loves. I held him, and I would not let him go until I brought him into my mother's house and into the chambers of her that conceived me. Oh, Song of Songs stands out as the only biblical book in which a woman's voice leads. This Shulammite woman offers a rare glimpse into a woman who stands as a role model of a bold, assertive, uninhibited spirit who decides what she wants and goes after it. She is not afraid to voice her desires in the most straightforwardly erotic of terms. Her commitment to life, love, and learning make her an example of what it means to let one's spirit run wild. The Bible references God on several occasions as a consuming fire, this radiant glory which sets a soul ablaze. This consuming fire draws you in and warms through its comfort. When this consuming fire is increased, it evokes a pant, an arousal of sort. You become breathless because of its intensity. You perspire, and your body's moisture drips down to every crevice you possess and accumulates into a pool of your own making. Desire has been activated. God's consuming fire nature has left its imprint on us. Now, beloved, if you can't identify your passion or desire for life, your fire may have been doused. But the good news is that spirit can reignite your spark. Today, I will pair with the Song of Songs text another sacred writing, that of biblical scholar Renita, Reverend Dr. Renita J. Weems. Her book, What Matters Most? 10 Lessons Living Passionately from the Song of Solomon. Now, the literary translation is a Song of Songs, and I imagine redactors couldn't allow this Shulammite woman and her poem to stand side by side. So today we're going to talk about 3 guides to letting your spirit run wild, based, of course, on this bold and brilliant woman. That is, sense what you hope to seize. 2, seek what you need to survive. And 3, secure what you know is sufficient. So beginning with sense what you hope to seize, Reverend Dr. Weems says in her book, the moment comes when you have to decide for yourself who you are and what your own desires and fantasies are. Our passions are cultivated in our bodies, goes beyond our minds. They are the yearnings of our heart, the groans of our yearning, of our yoni or creative center. We must notice and nurture them boldly, for they are the fuel which pushes us to discovering our purpose and ultimate fulfillment. This is where fantasy can be useful. Fantasy is not wishful thinking for the gluttonous who believes everything belongs to her while passively waiting for a divine genie. Fantasy is the ecstatic place where we clarify our deepest desires or our most fervent longings and work to walk it out in our life. Sensing is an embodied act to listen and honor your voice, observe and discern, play and try things out. You have to love and be connected to your body. And after you identify your desires, you must pursue them. Our second guide is to seek what you need to survive. Dr. Weems writes, as a choice maker, you learn to pause to sort out your priorities and motives and the potentialities of a situation. This Shulammite woman could have resigned herself to waiting for love to find her or to live from a place of fear. And I think what she shows us is that what we are willing to risk reveals what we value. And she valued herself in her own knowing, and she was unashamed to go after that which she sought. Waiting on God to give you a sign before you do anything is not a measure of virtue. Also, what Dr. Weems writes. Because a passionate woman works with God in creating a soul satisfying life for herself. What are the ways? This is a question for us to ask ourselves. I too am a part of that asking. What are the ways we allow others to choose for us? Kind of how we hand over decision making to other people for varying of reasons, but of course, putting the power in someone else's hands. Romance will not save us from a dull life. A fulfilling life is for the one who is willing to risk the disapproval of those around them in order to pursue their own happiness. This woman risks failure, but she reminds herself that she is not a victim. She has learned from her experiences, and one of those lessons is that her silence has not protected her in a world which seeks to keep her passive. Every obstacle that we face in life is not a sign that we should turn back. Um, it's not a sign that we should follow a different course. Pain and discomfort or frustration is not a reason to retreat. We still keep our eyes centered, focused on that which we desire, and we keep moving forward. We keep pressing, if I were to use Paul's line, pressing toward that mark. In knowing and betting on yourself, you then align yourself with people who share those sentiments. We don't expend unnecessary, I would call unnecessary energy trying to convince people that we are worthy. That's wasted energy. And that energy that we could use in convincing people of our worth, we can channel it in a different direction, channel it to our own knowing, to seeking the things within ourselves that need to be uncovered, revealed, so ultimately we can live authentically and more in line with our spirit and our nature. So the third guide is to secure what you know is sufficient. Another quote from Dr. Weems, she writes, coming to grips with the fact that there will be lots of people who will not like you for speaking the truth is a hard reality for some to face. I would agree with that. Pursuing a life of purpose requires courage and deep passion. And our society often refers to this type of person or this type of woman as a bitch or irrational or too demanding. I mean, you could probably find other words, of course, that will align with that. But as a woman who knows the power of her own mind, the Shulammite loves profoundly. And that intensity fuels her life in astonishing ways. Living your life fully is, or living your life fully as a reflection of God and unapologetically being true to yourself is risky. But of course, with great risk comes great reward. Criticism has always been an effective weapon for pressuring women to get back in line, to get in their place, to know their place, to play their role, so forth and so on. I'm reflecting on my own journey. When I was in my 20s, I minimized my voice and strength out of fear that I wouldn't find a mate. I, of course, also didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was in my 20s. I was just kind of performing a role I was told to play. And in my 30s, I realized the time that I had wasted. This is, again, going back to what I said, this wasted energy. And so then I had to course correct, or I felt the need to course correct. I guess I didn't have to, but I chose to course correct. Um, and those years, some of those years were lonely. Some of those years I was walking on an unfamiliar road because I was going against, in some ways, much of my conditioning. And now in my 40s, I'm less concerned with what others think because I'm determined to live my life on my own terms and primarily without regret. And one of the ways that I think that we can regret our life is when we live for the approval of others. And I will say to that, that your journey, something that I've learned, your journey is yours to engage. Your journey is unique to you. My journey is unique to me. And we often abandon our journey when we distract ourselves by comparing like our road to the road that others are on. And if you sense a call that may not be mirrored often in people around you, it may be that you need to discover. And discovery is a point on your own journey. So just because you don't see others doing what it is that you're sensing spirit is calling you to do or be doesn't mean, of course, you shouldn't do it. It just means that you need to walk this path that may be a little dark. It's not illuminated as much. It's that wilderness kind of experience. We're talking about the wild here. The wild is um, untamed. You have to be creative and innovative in these spaces. Everything is not convenient for you. You have to get down and get dirty, so to speak. So follow that glimmer of amber until it leads you to the burning flames of your desires. And when I sense Spirit's call for me as a pastor, I laughed, literally chuckled. And then I told Spirit, no, I'm not doing that. And I sat with that knowing or that hearing of Spirit for a while. And then I started to be curious. And then I started to kind of negotiate with Spirit. And the tension was, how do I take all of who I am and honor Spirit through my call as pastor? Because, of course, I had seen or I see commonly how pastoring is lived out. And I just had a sense that that was not necessarily, well, that was not my path, not necessarily. That was no longer my path. Um, and so I had to tell Spirit, this, and I had to reconcile with myself, like, this is going to be a different journey. It's going to be a path that's unfamiliar to my understanding and my kind of conditioned ways of believing. And of course, this is a different knowing. For me, it's an embodied road to enlightenment as it relates to this vocation. So this is just encouragement to you. If you desire to take your pilgrimage towards self-acceptance, sexual exploration, and spiritual discovery, pursue it wholeheartedly. Don't extinguish your fire, set it ablaze. Let me know how it's going for you. Until next time, may your spirits be encouraged and your bodies pleasured. Good night.